Hello there, my name is Linda Jo Martin, and this video is for all my Booktube and bookish friends, or whoever's watching, like people who just want to spy on me, or people who just want to keep up on what I'm doing these days, which I don't think there's very many of those out there, but you never know. Anyhow, Booktube is a large community of book-loving friends on YouTube, and I'm part of that. And so I'm doing this video today. It's called my April TBR, to be read, books I'm planning to read during the month of April 2019. And so the first book that I had planned for April is The Eagle Tree by Ned Hayes, and I have already read that book because I'm making this like on April 7th. I'm a little bit late this month. I was quite sick during the month of March and everything got delayed. Anyhow, Ned Hayes wrote The Eagle Tree, and it's actually the second book that I've read by him. I read another book called Coeur d'Alene Waters because it's like local to where I live. I live near Lake Coeur d'Alene, and I did not particularly care for that book, and I read it anyhow, but then I did a video review of it, and he actually watched my video review, which was just a little embarrassing because it wasn't the most complimentary review that I'd ever done of a book, if you know what I mean. But I decided I was going to give it another try. He's written 2 other books, and I read his most recently published book. It's called The Eagle Tree, and it was a very interesting book, much different than Coeur d'Alene Waters. And it was about an autistic 14-year-old who is totally obsessed with trees, and he's like a savant. He just knows everything about trees. He reads scientific books about them, and he's concerned about global warming and about the trees, certain species no longer surviving because of the global warming. In particular, the ponderosa pine, because there's some kind of a beetle that is killing them off. Anyhow, great book. It was done in first person from the point of view of like I said, an autistic 14-year-old boy, and you can tell this kid is autistic just by the way he's talking and the things he thinks about. It was fascinating. Anyhow, this is supposed to be a TBR, but sorry, I finished that one already. And now I'm reading Foundation by Isaac Asimov. I don't know if this is the first Isaac Asimov book I've read. There may have been others, or at least one more. But this one so far is pretty interesting. I read the first part. There's 4 parts in the book. I noticed the 4th part is much thicker than the other parts. Anyhow, read part 1 last night, and it was fascinating. It was about a man called Harry Seldon who wanted to collect the universe's knowledge before it was destroyed. So I am kind of excited about reading it. Sci-fi is such a mind-bending experience, so I don't read very much of it, but that is my choice for a classic book this month. And it's also for the PopSugar Reading Challenge. If you know me, I've been doing the PopSugar Reading Challenge for 4 years, and this year I want to finish. So I'm racing through these books, and this Foundation is the name of the book that I'm reading. Well, it is my choice for a book that was recommended by a celebrity, and the celebrity that recommended that was Robin Williams. Rest in peace, Robin. Still love him. Anyhow, I should say, backing up to The Eagle Tree, that book is for prompt number 6 in the PopSugar Reading Challenge for 2019, and it is a book with a plant in the title or on the cover. Now, I also belong to a Goodreads group that's really into the PopSugar Reading Challenge. And they chose, for the same prompt, a book with the plant on the cover. They chose a book called The Witch Elm by Tana French, and it's also on my TBR list for this month. So I'm kind of double dipping on that one prompt. I don't know much about this book yet, except that it is about a person with a brain injury and some amnesia, and tell you more about it when I get to the April wrap-up. I do know that Stephen King liked it. So the next book, I'm looking at my telephone here, it's Bob Dylan's Chronicles. It's his memoir, which I believe won like the Nobel Prize for Literature, probably in the nonfiction category. And so I'm really excited about reading it, and I started it last night. You see, my copy of Foundation is a paperback, so I can't read a paperback with the lights off. So like after I'm done reading with the lights on at night, I turn off the lights and I want to turn to my Kindle and read something. So I got Bob Dylan's Chronicles on Kindle, and I read the first chapter last night, and it was amazing. I mean, really well written. So the next book I'm going to read after all of this is Cinder, which is part of the Lunar Chronicles. It's book 1 in the Lunar Chronicles, and we can thank Charlie Troff, who is a booktuber, for convincing me that I should read this series. And so I have the first 2 books in that series on my TBR list this year. And Cinder is for PopSugar Reading Challenge prompt number 20, which is a book set in space, which Foundation would count for that too, but I've got it for another prompt. So after that, okay, that covers my YA for the month, and recent fiction and classic fiction and nonfiction. So the next thing I need to read is an art book, and I have it right here. It's called Journal Spilling. I've already read the first 5 sections of this book, and sort of like step-by-step instructions for the different kinds of art techniques that she uses in her journal. There's a lot of like stream of consciousness writing, and paint can be as messy as you want. So I'm looking forward to that. I've already done my first journal spilling adventure, and it's right here. I'll put that at the end of the video if you want to read everything that I wrote there. It's not all that private. So anyhow, next on my list is a Christian book called Becoming a Woman of Grace by Cynthia Heald. And I started reading this a long time ago, maybe 2014, and I only got halfway through it for various reasons, which are explained on my blog at lindajomartin.com on the April page. And I don't want to go into it here. It's just something about the book made me set it aside. I have always wanted to finish it, and hopefully I will do that this month. And I'm still also reading Jesus the King by Timothy Keller, making some progress in that. And other than that, I went to church today for the first time in 3 weeks because, you know, I've been sick. It was really great to get back to church. I was so happy to be there. And come to find out, they have chosen a book for everybody in the congregation to read. Well, it's voluntary, but they're dividing up into small groups, and everybody gets to go to a group where this book is being studied. It's called Rooted: Connect with God, the Church, and Your Purpose. And it's sort of like a write-in book with journaling pages. And so we're having our first meeting tonight on this book. And of course, since there was a book involved, I was definitely wanting to join a small group and get in on the action. So that's me. Anyhow, so that's my April TBR. Now, I did my March wrap up a few days ago, and I forgot to mention one book that I had read that I thought was really good, and I will tell you about it now. It's called A Death in the Family by James A.G., and it is a classic. It's on my list of classic books, and I also included it in my PopSugar Reading Challenge for 2019 for the prompt about a book that was published posthumously. So I just wanted to say I was very much surprised at how much I enjoyed this book. It was sad that somebody died, but it was just very well written. I was amazed. So thought I would mention it to you here and tell you that I really liked it. So I do believe that's all I have planned for this video and for this reading month. I think that will be enough. If I have more time left at the end of the month, I'll probably, I don't know, maybe start one of the books that I have planned for May, or maybe go to one of the books that isn't on my list at all for the year, because as the year goes on, even though I've got everything planned out for the year, I always run around finding books that aren't on the list that I really want to read. And like the one that's on my mind right now is the Crawdad book, and I can't remember the name of it. The Crawdad book, you know, that one. And it's like the best seller right now, and it has been for a long time. So I really want to read it. Like I said in my random book news video, this author is a resident of North Idaho, where I live, so that makes it mandatory reading for me. So this is all I have planned. I really thank you for coming and listening to my book plans for the month, and I will talk to you in another video. Bye.